I'm glad you're all here. Thank you for coming. We want to make sure housekeeping's done and all the phones are off. No ringtones going on. And if you need coffee, now is the time to get it, coffee or tea, before the guest speaker starts. And if you need to use the restroom, it's outside and to the right. But we're getting going now, and we want to thank everyone for coming. We have Kathy Gruver here, who is an international coach and speaker, and she also is a master at the flying trapeze. So when you go over to Haley, you can often find Kathy there doing her thing. And so maybe we can get the times as when she's going there and we can cheer her on. Because that would be fun to watch, because I would never do anything like that. So here's Rachel.
Good morning. Before we bring our wonderful guest speaker up, I would like to give a big thank you to all of our educational partners. We have Paragon Mortgage Group. Peter Trent is here this morning. Thank you for being here. Museum of Natural History, Quinn Fiduciary Services, Lodestar Movers, Pour Lamar Nursery, State Street Insurance Solutions, and Santa Barbara Gift Baskets has provided us with a really special raffle. So thank you all for being here, and without further ado, we're introducing Kathy.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me. My name is Dr. Kathy Gruver. I've been here in Santa Barbara for about 23, 24 years. I started out as a medical massage therapist, and then I moved into hypnotherapy, and I'm now a life and executive coach, and I am indeed a trapeze artist. A couple of things you need to know for this specific talk. So what I did for you is I combined a little bit of my stress and a little bit of my overcoming resistance to change. So you're getting like 2 programs in one, which is sort of fun. I tell a lot of personal stories. I share client stories because to me that's the easiest way to share some of these lessons and relate. And especially with change, change is hard. None of us like change. We don't often embrace change. So I'm going to talk about the 7 reasons we resist change, and also throw in a little bit of my stress reduction work. I have handouts over there at the end. I've got business cards. And then I also brought some of my books at the end if any of you are interested in getting some of those. So let's dive in. So the first thing we have to talk about is this is Heraclitus. And he said the only constant in life is change. And if you look at his face, he's even not real happy he said it. He's annoyed by himself. And we don't like change either. We go kicking and screaming into change. And change causes stress. So the first thing I want to do is just go over. There we go. I want to go over some of the warning signs of stress. This is a lot of stuff. And for those note takers, feel free to write some of those down. If you want to take a picture of the slide, that's totally fine. I will always use PowerPoint because 60% of learners are visual learners. I'm a visual learner. I want to read this stuff. I want to see it up on the screen. So I do a lot of radio and TV. I called into a radio show in Chicago, and the guy said, why don't you start out by talking about the warning signs of stress? So I went through 3, 4, 5 of these, dead silence. And nothing says good radio like absolute dead silence. So I waited a second and then went, did I lose the feed? Are we still on the air? Like, do you need me to call back in? And there was more silence, and then I hear the guy go, oh no. And I said, oh, do I need to call back in? And he goes, no, I'm stressed. I had no idea. He didn't realize that these aren't normal. Sure, every once in a while we forget something. Every once in a while we get angry. Every once in a while we smoke a little crack. We all do it. But is it just me? Okay, maybe later. But the important thing to know is that our body seeks homeostasis. Our body wants to normalize all this stuff, so that we think it's okay that our shoulders are up to here, and that we're clenching our jaw, and that we're not sleeping right. These things aren't normal, and it is a sign of our behavior and our body and our mind waving the flag and going, please, please help me. So if you're noticing these in yourself, in your kids, in your partner, in your friends, it's a sign that something's going wrong, that we are in a place of stress, and that means it's time to deal with that. So I'm going to give you a couple of my stress reduction techniques in the midst of all this, talking about change. So the first question I have for you, and I encourage you all to do this, it's a little homework. You didn't know you were going to have to do some homework. I encourage you to write down the answers to these questions. Because if you don't know how you're doing, then no one can help you. You don't know when something's going wrong unless you know what it looks like when it's right. I just came back from Montana. I had to drive all over the state. I rented a car. What is the first thing I do? I walk around that car and I look for every ding and every scratch and every dent because I'm not paying for that. But how often do we do that to ourselves? Do we wake up in the morning and say, how is my body feeling? Does my shoulder still hurt? Have I pooped in the last 2 weeks? How did I sleep? These are questions that we need to be asking ourselves. So this is your homework. How is change and stress affecting your body? How is it affecting your mind? How is it affecting your emotions? Are you scared? Are you fearful? Are you frustrated? And then finally, how is change affecting your spirit? And by that, I don't mean any sort of religious thing. I mean truly that spirit that lives in us, that fuels us, that comforts us, that allows us to wake up in the morning and keep going. Because if you don't know how you're doing, then you're not going to notice those changes. You're not going to see how all this affects you. So I encourage you to do this. This is your homework for the day. And then finally, what can we do about stress? About this resistance to change? Get a massage, play a game, go wine tasting. We're living in the beautiful area of Santa Barbara. But here's the most important part on this slide. Do whatever works for you. Learn to relax, whatever that means to you. If you want to go play pickleball, that's awesome. If you want to do yoga, do that. I like to do flying trapeze. I play Dungeons and Dragons. I love petting my cat. I have a girlfriend. Her idea of relaxing is she lays in a chaise lounge. And that's what she does. She doesn't have a book or a podcast, and I wonder what she did wrong and who put her in timeout and when she can get up. Because I'm very type A, and just laying there, it doesn't work for me. I want to be doing something. So whatever works for you. And if you don't know what works for you, think back to what you did as a kid. Did you like riding your bike? Maybe you take a spin class. Did you like swimming? Maybe you do water aerobics. I loved playing kickball in grade school. When they pulled out that big red ball, I knew it was going to be a good day. And I don't know if you know, we actually have a kickball league here in Santa Barbara. Now, when you round the bases, you do shots, which I don't remember doing in grade school, but it seemed like it would be fun. So, maybe don't do that. So this slide is blank on purpose. This is the most important technique I'm going to teach you. It is not a technical error, and I've done so many talks where the organizers go, hey, corrected that mistake slide you put in there. I'm like, no, it's the most important one. So right now, I encourage you, I'm going to ask you, close your eyes and just take a deep breath and then open your eyes. Cool. That's your first technique. You've mastered it already. Perhaps that's the first conscious breath you've taken all day. Maybe it's the first conscious breath you've taken ever. And I'm going to have you do that breath again, but I want to change it just a little bit. I have some instruction for you. I want you to do that breath again, and I want you to really watch it. And what I mean by that, I want you to watch it as if you're watching someone else breathe. And what I want you to see if you can notice is where that inhale starts and stops. And there's that little pause at the top of the breath, and then where that exhale starts and stops, and there's a little pause at the bottom of the breath. So go ahead, close your eyes, do that breath again, this time really watching it. Nice. So that's a little bit different. And what's fun from up here is when I have you do the first breath, this is what I see. And there's sound to it, and the shoulders are moving, and it's pretty quick. The second one is slower, it's more purposeful, it's more focused. And whether it was your grandmother or a teacher that said, whenever you're stressed, take a deep breath and count to 10, that's a thing. It actually works. This is the pause. And in this pause, there is so much power because in this pause, several things happen. It stops the fight or flight response. And when we get into that fight or flight response, one of the first things that changes is our breathing. We either pant because we're gonna have to run from the bear, or we hold our breath, like the rabbits on my lawn, hoping the cat doesn't find them. So as soon as we start to relax our breathing, our brain goes, oh, there's no threat. We're okay, cool. It also allows us time to decide if we're going to respond or if we're going to react. And we want first responders. We don't want first reactors. It's those reactions that get us in trouble. No one's been accused of over-responding, and no one has ever said, Bob, calm down, you're really having a knee-jerk response. It's the reactions that cause us to yell at the guy on the freeway and get upset when the cat throws up on the piece of paper we have on the floor. It's those reactions. Now, I am not talking about real fight or flight. If you are crossing the street and a car is coming toward you, please don't stop and meditate. Please get the hell out of the way. If you're walking down, Santa Barbara's pretty darn safe, but if you're walking down a dark street and someone starts following you, not the time to do affirmations. It's the time to go. So we're talking about this fight or flight that's up here, these perceptions of threat, and we'll talk about that later. It also brings us back to this present moment, and in this present moment there is zero stress. Stress is from behind us and those things we're dragging forward from a memory, and in the future in those what ifs. Those what ifs that keep us up in the middle of the night. We've all had those, and I don't know why we don't what if good stuff. You know, we've never bolted straight awake and gone, what if I get the promotion? It's the what if it's, you know, what if this happens, and what if the job fails, and what if my son moves in, and what if the kid fails math, and what if it's cancer, and what if they leave, and it's those what ifs that we're not sure is gonna happen. So why suffer twice? Why are we dragging that unknown thing in the possible future to us now? And we're ruining this beautiful present moment. And then finally, it brings us back to our body. As soon as we start to think about our breathing and concentrate on our breathing, it kind of shuts out other things and anchors us back in the now. So there is so much power in just that breath. And if you have time to do nothing else during your day, just take that conscious breath and it starts to shift everything. So when I realized that we had resistance to change, I started to do some research. And I discovered 7 reasons why we're most resistant. So I'm going to go through these, and I'm going to give you some solutions as how we can be more accepting of change. So these are just the 7 that I've discovered. Perhaps you can relate to a few of them. The first one, it's our brain. Our brain's job is to protect us. We're constantly scanning the environment for things that could be dangerous. That's just what our brain does. And our brain puts protection above everything else, above joy, above happiness, above love. We're constantly looking for things that could be wrong. And when we were a budding society and people would kind of stumble into our tribe or our village, we didn't know, because they looked different and they were wearing different clothes and different hair and they smelled funny, and we didn't know if they were coming to invite us to dinner or if we were going to be dinner. So we're naturally leery of things that are different than what we're used to seeing. It's just our brain. Now you might ask, well, how do we fight against that, right? If when we're in a stressed place, we see negative things faster, we see negative patterns, we see negatively valenced language quicker. Let's see if we can make this work. Yeah, let's do this. So look around the room right now and memorize everything that's red. Thank you for wearing the red sweater. Memorize everything that's red. There's little bits of red everywhere. Got the red up there, got the fire extinguisher. Okay, so red. All right, now everyone close your eyes and remember everything you saw that was blue. I know, it's drastically unfair, but this is what you could open your eyes. But this is what our brain does. The blue stuff didn't disappear. There's blue stuff, there's more blue than red. We weren't told to focus on that. This is what happens when we're in that negative place. All we find is negative stuff. It's how our brain works. Now, we can help correct our brain. I'll give you some tips for that in a second. The thing that kind of goes hand in hand with our brain is fear. Fear is normal, as that's what the brain does, right? But I like to use this acronym of fear, of false evidence appearing real. I'm, again, not talking about crossing the street and the car comes at you. I'm not talking about really physically threatening, fearful things. I'm talking about things like fear of failure, fear of success, fear of the unknown, fear of not fitting in. If you truly ask yourself what you're afraid of, it typically comes down to one of 2 things. It's going to kill me, or I'm going to be shunned from society. Because again, in our budding tribes and villages, if you were kicked out of the tribe, it was sure death. You couldn't just head to the next town and get an Airbnb and hope it worked out for the best. You were pretty much dead. I'm a motivational speaker. I've been around the world, over 350 talks, 4 continents, 3 cruise ships, handful of islands. I've been everywhere. It hasn't killed me yet. And motivational speaking is the second biggest fear next to death. So as Seinfeld says, a lot of people would rather be in the casket than doing the eulogy. I have fallen off the stage. I have gotten sick on the stage. I have choked where literally for 10 minutes I got that tickle and all I can do is go, and people just sat there watching. No one helped. They were just like, oh, that poor girl. Still didn't kill me. I still survived. I'm still here. PowerPoint has stopped. Computers have died. Things have broken. I'm still here. So that fear of speaking is purely coming from here. It's not a physical threat, or else I don't know that I'd be doing this anymore. So it's natural to be fearful of these things, and a lot of this is programming from our childhood. How many of you have kids? That's a lot of kids. Okay, I don't. I've seen them. But so much of this is programmed from our youth. And the reason I have this little kid toddling on the beach, so I have ex-in-laws in Sacramento. Sacramento, not pretty, no beach. So when they would come to visit us in Santa Barbara, the first thing they wanted to do was go down to the water. Of course, it's gorgeous. So at this point, they were 6-year-old, 4-year-old, 2-year-old. The 6-year-old and the 4-year-old are toddling around the water, the 2-year-old's with mom. And the mom looks up, sees the kids in the water. Now, you know our beaches. You're not gonna get swept out. I mean, there's like this much water. And the kids are playing, and the mom sees this and loses her mind. She throws down the 2-year-old, she runs up to the water, grabs the 4-year-old out of the water. This freaks the 6-year-old out because he's old enough to go, boy, this didn't seem threatening. The 4-year-old starts crying, the 2-year-old starts crying, everyone's confused, and me and my now ex-husband, but current husband, are standing there going, what's wrong with them? I now know these kids as adults, 24, 26, and 28, and they are afraid of everything. They're so risk adverse. They live so small. And I watched, it sounds terrible to say, but like, I watched the psychosis develop over these 20 years. Now, it's not too late for us. We have been parented, we have been raised, but we have the ability still, whatever age we are, to make changes. And here are some of the best ways to do that. So, hypnosis. I'm a clinical hypnotherapist, and even if I wasn't, it's one of my favorite techniques. Hypnosis goes directly to the subconscious, and it helps us make changes there. Hypnosis, you can't get trapped there, you're not gonna do things you wouldn't normally do. I'm not talking about the crazy hypnosis where you're at the bachelorette party or it's on TV where people are dancing to Beyonce and pretending to be on a roller coaster, and I'm not talking about the craziness, though that is fun. And it is real, it's real hypnosis. I'm talking about helping with things like flying and phobias and spiders, and I had one client who couldn't drive more than 10 miles away from his house, and after a couple of sessions he drove cross country. I had one gentleman that couldn't go up over our pass because he was so afraid he was going to go over the edge. Not an uncommon fear around here. And we worked together for a couple sessions, and one day his homework was, I want you to drive to Cold Spring Tavern. And he kind of stepped back and he goes, I can't do it. And I said, you can, because we just worked on that. And about an hour later, I get this phone call, oh my God, I'm standing at Cold Spring Tavern. I'm like, yay. Because, you know, we're only born with 2 fears. Does anybody know the 2 fears we're born with?
Falling.
Falling, yes! This is the only audience that's ever known. Falling, what's the other one? Wow! I've done this talk so many times, everyone just sort of stares blankly. Good for you guys. Yes, falling and loud noises. Everything else we develop over time. Spiders, the dark, heights, water, all of that stuff comes from someplace else. 2 we're born with. Congrats, guys. So, something called cognitive restructuring, another solution for this. Cognitive restructuring is just what it sounds like. Cognitive thinking, restructuring, changing these things. A cognitive behavioral therapist or a coach like myself works with cognitive restructuring. You figure out what is the trigger that's causing these fears. What are the distorted thoughts that go along with it, whether it's should, we're shoulding on ourselves all the time, we've got to stop doing that. Is all or nothing thinking, black and white thinking, mind reading, fortune telling, saying things like always and never. I always pick the wrong line. Really? In your entire life, you've always been in the longest line in Gelson's. Really? Every single time. And when you start to say things like that, you realize kind of how ridiculous it is. Because nothing's always, nothing's never, right? Surrounding yourself with supportive people. This is so important to help us change. If you have your family that's supportive, or the community that you live in is supportive, or someone at the church, or the temple, or having people support you is one of the best ways to help decrease stress and make sure that you're moving forward in your life, at whatever age you're at. What are you actually afraid of? We kind of already talked about that one. Don't compare yourself to others. You know, it's the Instagram generation. It's the Facebook generation. I have dear friends who I actually connected these 2 couples as friends, and I found out they all met in Ventura for their birthday, and I wasn't invited. And I was like, oh my God, I feel like I'm in 6th grade again. Like, you have to hear that there was a party over the weekend, I see it on Facebook and go, wow, I was sort of the friend that brought them all together and they didn't even think to invite me. And I felt kind of sad about that for a second. I was comparing myself to all this other stuff that's happening. Why do they get more likes than me? Why are they still driving? Why are they, you know, whatever it is, comparing yourself to other people, unless they act as inspiration, can be really detrimental to us. And then finally, asking yourself, what do I know to be true? Feelings aren't facts. I will validate your feelings. If you're in my office, I'll hand you the feelings wheel and we'll talk about what you're actually experiencing. But just because you feel it doesn't mean it's true. It's the facts that we have to look at. Next reason that we are stuck and afraid of change, stubbornness. Sometimes we're just plain stubborn, right? Sometimes we're just being a rebel. I cannot tell you how many people told me to read Harry Potter, and every time I went, no. I loved it. I wish I would have read it when it came out. But because everybody was telling me to do it, I rebelled. We've all had that moment. You should go see this movie. No, because everybody's telling you to see it. I think we've all had moments of that rebel. Now, when I tell people everybody has a rebel inside of us, I get a lot of pushback on that, especially the executives. They're like, no, I don't have a rebel. You do, or you'd still be sitting on your parents' lap. It's the rebel that causes the kid to jump down and run and kind of go. And hopefully the parent developing good, solid attachment goes, I'm right here, go ahead. It's the rebel and the kid that picks up the food on the high chair and goes. And the parent says what? No, and what's the kid do? Throws it anyway. That's the kid developing that rebel. The rebel is a part of ourselves that protects us, that drives us forward, and can also get us in trouble from just being stubborn. So are you being a rebel? Is it one of those, I said I wouldn't do it, so there? What are you afraid of if you make a different choice? I had a client, a coaching client here in town. She sat down and she said, Kathy, I have to tell you something. I said, okay. She said, I'm having an affair. I said, okay, tell me about that. She said, I'm having an affair with meat. And I said, his name is Meat? And she goes, no, meat, the food, meat. And I went, okay, you need to explain this to me. Her husband sat her down and said, look, I really want to try being vegan. Would you do it with me? And she said, yeah, I'll give it a shot. He goes, okay, I'm really interested in doing this for health and the environment, da da. She goes, okay. So after about 4 weeks, she hated it. But she didn't want to tell him. So she would sneak out of the house and have meat. She was having an affair with meat. And I said, well, let me ask you this. What are you afraid is going to happen if you tell him that? And she said, oh, I'm afraid he'll be disappointed in me, or he'll judge me, or he'll think I'm a loser, or he'll think I'm not committed. And I said, really? You guys have been married like 20 years. Do you honestly think he's going to feel that way? And she thought about it for a second, and she goes, no. And I said, I bet you have a strong enough relationship that you can explain to him that you tried it, and then you changed your mind. And she said, yeah, I'll give that a shot. So she told him. He was happy. That was the only kind of affair she was having. And said, look, he goes, I appreciate you trying it. I totally understand it doesn't work for you. Just do me a favor. Don't do it at the house. Because if you're cooking bacon, I'm giving in. He said, go have meat, but you don't have to sneak it, just tell me. She was really afraid of his judgment and those things. She didn't give herself permission to change her mind. And so often, that's what happens with us being stubborn and resisting change. We're afraid to change our mind once we have more information. She realized she didn't like it. That's okay. The reason that says, if only we were owners, this is I love to share stories of my successes and failures, because I have those. My husband and I got contacted by Hilton Vacations. Woo! They wanted us to look at one of their vacation rental packages. You've done this, hour-long sales pitch, free hotel for the weekend, and there's muffins, which is great. So I told my husband, and I said, hey, we're gonna go to Vegas for the weekend, hour-long sales pitch. We're saying no. And he goes, well, you're the one that says no, so yeah, great. I said, I'm in charge, I'll say no. He goes, great. So we show up to Las Vegas, and we're sitting at the Hilton, and we got a crappy room. We didn't get one of the good rooms. Like, if we were owners, we would have got a good room. So we're sitting in a room, sort of like this, with maybe 6, 7 other couples, and the guy does his presentation, really good presentation. Funny and engaging, and there were muffins. Did I mention the muffins? So we have our muffins and our juice, and now we pair off with our salesperson, and they're gonna pitch us on this deal, right? So we sit down with this woman. She goes over all the details. My husband's glazed over already. And she gets to the end, and I said, wow, thank you so much. That's a really great deal. Normally when I travel, it's paid for by whoever I'm speaking for, so this isn't gonna work for us, but I really appreciate your time. We'll take our 15,000 Hilton points, and we'll go to the pool. And she goes, well, wait, I've got a better deal. And she flips over the piece of paper. Here we go. And I looked it over. It was a great deal. Still wasn't gonna work for us. And I said, man, I really appreciate it, but we're gonna pass. She goes, okay, well, let me go get Tom. Oh boy. So here comes Tom. So Tom comes in, briefcase, more muffins. Now by this point, every other couple is left. Packet in their hands, smiling, shaking hands. We're the last holdout. The lights are going down. It's like we've been there a long time. Tom goes through his deal. It's even better. It's pretty darn good. And I looked at it, and for a brief moment was like, yeah. And then I went, nope, you know what? Thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. He goes, well, I tried. I said, yeah, you did. He goes, let me go get Bob. Ah, shit, Bob's the closer. So, here comes Bob. He's got such a good deal. Now, we've been there literally 2.5 hours, okay? It was supposed to be an hour-long thing. Muffins are gone, the lights are out, and we're still sitting there, and I look over this deal, and I'm like, oh, Bob, oh, man. I'm like, okay, I really appreciate it. It's just not a good time for us. Maybe like next year we could revisit this, but it's just not gonna work for us. And he goes, man, I tried. I said, you really did. Thank you so much. We stopped, we got our 15,000 Hilton points. We got up to the room to finally get to the pool, and I go, and my husband says, what? And I said, that was a really good deal. You should have said yes. And he said, well, then why do you say no? And I said, because I said I would. And I also realized that would have meant they won. We were the final holdout, and I wasn't gonna give in. But you know what? Bob is not still thinking about us. And I'm still telling this story. And every time we're staying in some crappy hotel someplace and we pass a Hilton, I go, see, if we were owners, we could be in that Hilton. So think about why you're saying no. Think about why you're being stubborn with that. My dad's favorite phrase was, if I can't win, I don't want to play. He was a very competitive athletic person. He wanted a boy, he got me, I'm an only child, triple Capricorn, very type A. And I was just being stubborn. I was saying no because I didn't want them to win, which is the stupidest thing in the world. So don't be like me.
Does ODD have anything to do with all this stubbornness?
Does what?
Oppositional defiant disorder.
No. Oh, in Jet, I thought you went with me. I don't think so. In Jet, yes. Yes, that's actually a really good point. I thought he was diagnosing me. I'm like, wow. That's a really good point, and that's probably true. There is a part of that. He was asking about oppositional defiant disorder, where the kids are just sort of, disobedient because that's a part of their personality. That's a good point. No one's ever brought that up.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so to look at this, ask yourself why. Why are you being stubborn? Why are you not allowing this change to occur? It's root cause analysis. It's looking at the base cause of why this is happening. The most common example of root cause analysis is the Jefferson Memorial in Washington, D.C. It was degrading faster than any other monument, and the powers that be called in an engineering company and said, look, the marble's chipping off, the concrete's falling apart, you've got to fix this. And the guy said, yeah, I will, but why is this happening? And they went, just fix it. But that didn't work for him. He started doing some research. He talked to the groundskeepers, and the groundskeepers said, oh, I can tell you why it's falling apart. We're power washing this thing like crazy. And he goes, well, why? And they said, oh man, it's covered in bird crap. And they went, oh. So they thought they solved the problem. They put up bird netting, they put up the spiky thing so the birds couldn't get in. Still, the birds came, it was covered in poop, they kept having to power wash it. They went back to this engineering firm and said, man, we don't know what's going on, but fix it. And the guy said, yeah, but why is this happening? And they said, I don't know, just fix it. So we went back and did more research. Why are all these birds here? Well, it turns out there's these really tasty spiders. Oh, why? Really yummy bugs. Interesting. Why? Because they don't turn the lights off at night. And any other monument, they either dimmed the lights or turned them off for a certain portion of the night. The lights attracted the bugs, which attracted the spiders, which attracted the birds, which pooped, which caused the power washing. So they solved the problem. They turned the lights off. Now, this guy whyed himself out of a really lucrative deal because every 2 years he'd have to come back and fix the monument, but that wasn't what he was after. He wanted to know why. Why do you want the things you do? We say, I want this, I want that. Why? Do you really want to win the lottery, or do you just want money because you want to start a foundation? Do you really want, what does happy mean to you? I don't know what that means. My clients come to me for coaching, they go, I want to be happy. I'm like, that's awesome, what does that mean? I don't know. Well, then you're probably not going to get it, because you don't get into an Uber and say, take me someplace. You have to know where you want to go, and then you trust that the protocol is going to get you there. What do you want, even if you don't think it's possible? And a colleague of mine was working with a terminal cancer patient, and he was working with her, and he said, what do you want? And she said, well, I can't get it. And he said, but what do you want? She said, it's not possible. He said, okay, what do you want? And she loudly said, I just want to be healthy. Well, she couldn't, because she was terminally ill with cancer. But what happens in our body when we're lying to ourselves, we have all these physiological changes. This is why lie detector tests work. As soon as she said, I just want to be healthy, her whole body relaxed. Now, did that help her cancer treatment work better? Did that help her sleep better? I don't know what that subtle change in her body did, but as soon as she acknowledged the truth, things changed. Maybe you allow yourself to make a different choice. I love permission slips. Remember in school we get a permission slip, and I remember going to like the zoo or the gardens, except for that one kid that didn't have his parents sign it, and then he was scrambling that morning going, can you do my parents' signature? It was not me. I was very responsible. But I actually brought some of these. Give yourself permission to make a different choice, to sleep more, to try something new, to do something kind of halfway. Give yourself permission to make a different choice. I keep these on the desk in my office, and when clients are having trouble letting themselves allow something to happen in their lives, I hand them a permission slip. They're fun. Something fun to do. Okay, secondary game. This is sort of an insidious one, and this is usually very unconscious. Are you staying stuck because there's a benefit to it? Right? We do reward bad behavior in the society because if the Kardashians were well adjusted with good communication, nobody would watch. I was in my hotel room in Montana, which gives me an opportunity to watch crap that I don't normally watch, and Love Island was on. It's a bunch of very hot people in their 20s having sex with each other and wondering why they're not in love yet. Horrible communication, I mean, just like I'm watching this as a psychological experiment and going, what is wrong with these people? But that bad behaviors, we're watching it. My mother, you couldn't make her miss her stories. Every day she was watching her stories. Days of Our Lives, General Hospital, Bold and the Beautiful, those were her things. At least those were fake. Now we're watching real people act like that. Because at least in the soap operas, there's not that many twins and not that many people are coming out of brain surgery. It just doesn't happen. So are you being rewarded for staying stuck? Is there a benefit for you to keep having the headaches, to keep having that pain? I'm not saying anyone's causing their own illness. I've been to workshops where I have heard doctors say that you're causing your own cancer, and that is nothing to me more offensive than that. Having said that, are you enjoying when all this negative stuff happens? And the reason there's a vacuum cleaner there, I had still a good friend of mine, client when I first started doing massage, she had horrible back problems. There was no mistaking that she was screwed up with her back. Multiple herniations, all these problems. When her back would go out, she couldn't do anything. She just had to lay there. And she called me one day and she goes, Kathy, oh my God, my back is out so bad. And I said, oh dude, I'm so sorry. And she goes, well, and I said, oh, what's that noise about? She goes, well, you know, I gotta say, it's a Tuesday, and I'm not at work, and I'm on the couch with Netflix, and the cat, and a glass of wine, and a pain pill. Like, whoa. She said, and my husband's cleaning. And I went, oh, yeah, that sounds like a pretty good day. She goes, I gotta say, it's a pretty good day. And I thought about that, and I'm like, wow, I'm not saying she caused her back to go out. But boy, did she enjoy when it did. What else could she have done? Maybe she takes off one day a month where she laid on the couch with the cat and the wine, not the pain pill, and the Netflix. And you know, if she doesn't want to clean, maybe she sits down with her husband and says, hey, can you split this with me? Maybe you hire a cleaning service. They make plenty of money, rather than waiting until something bad happened and then reveling in it. We've all had those things like, oh, I have a headache, I can't make it, and we're kind of like happy we have a headache. Are you staying stuck because there's a game to it? And oftentimes, again, it's pretty insidious, we don't always know. I have clients that are staying in horrible relationships for the kids, for the money, for the house. That's a value system that I don't relate to. I have a client who is given everything she wants. Huge house in Hope Ranch. The car, she got a 65 Mustang for her birthday. I mean, like, there's tons of financial security coming to her from this man, but he also chokes her occasionally and throws her down a flight of stairs. And I would love a 65 Mustang for my birthday. I don't want the rest of that. And she has made a very clear choice to stay there, and we've talked about it, to stay because, quote, I can't go back to being poor. It's not my value system. That's her value system, and I'm hoping she stays safe, and I'm hoping at some point she can make a change from that. But for now, she's staying in this horribly negative situation because there's a benefit to her. Are you replaying childhood roles? I have a male client. He's in narcissistic relationship after narcissistic relationship, physically abusive, because when he was a kid, his mom was really sick. She was very sick. But she was also a raging narcissist. And he was raised to believe that his sole purpose in life was to take care of her. He would come home from school, drive her around, cook the dinner, take care of the younger kids. She beat him into submission psychologically. And when she passed away, he was lost. He didn't know who he was. And so now he's replaying that over and over and over again in these relationships. And we think he finally has just gotten out of his hopefully last narcissistic relationship. But that's just all he knew. He just kept replaying that pattern. So look at these patterns. Look, are you staying stuck because it's benefiting you? And it's actually easier to see this in other people because, like I said, it's pretty subconscious, but you can ask yourself that question. And then outside forces. These are really hard. I was just talking about narcissists. I'm working right now on a talk called Navigating the Narcissist, How to Deal with Difficult People. Because I think the narcissists have already been around, but we're hearing so much more about it now. Every time I turn on MSN, it's 20 signs of gaslighting, and how to know you're being are you a narcissist, how to handle a narcissist. If you're surrounded by people that aren't keeping you safe, in any sense of the word, please try to remove yourself from those people. Please take a step back. Because if you're not in a place that's emotionally and psychologically safe, and physically safe, then change is going to be really, really hard. So check for those people that are in your environment and see if you need to, as my friend would say, love people from a distance. Now, if you can't get out of that circumstance, which some people can't, do your best to protect yourself emotionally, psychologically. Now, on the other hand, outside forces are incredibly good for us. People sometimes see things in us that we don't. And like I said, I'm a trapeze artist. And to me, the double tuck was the scariest concept ever. I'm too old, I'm too fat, I'm too tall, any excuse I had to not do this. To the point where when people would say, have you ever tried a double tuck? I actually would step backwards, which is that very unconscious sign of, no, I'm not doing that. I'd go, nope, never tried it, not doing it. Not even for fun? Nope, not doing it, not fun, dangerous, scary, I'm not doing it. And when we were in Las Vegas for, to not take the Hilton deal, we went to the trapeze rig there. My husband is a trapeze artist also, that's how I met him. And we're flying at the rig there, and the owner of the rig says, man, you are flying so strong today, you're doing really good. And I said, oh, thanks, Stefan, I appreciate that. He goes, you ever try a double? And I went, nope. And he said, oh, come on. And I said, nope, not doing it. And he goes, well, how about a 1.5? And I said, that sounds only half as scary. I'm not doing that, I don't know what that would look like. And he goes, man, it's a shame class is almost over. I would teach it to you, and you could catch it today. And I went, oh boy, that is a bummer. And my husband goes, well, you're coming back tomorrow. So Stefan says, great, I'm not planning on being to class, but I'm gonna come just to teach you this trick. And I went, okay. So we get back to our crappy room at the Hilton, and I'm thinking about it, and I'm Googling it, and I'm watching videos, and I'm doing it in my head, and I show up the next morning thinking, there's no way Stefan's gonna remember he said that. So I give him a big hug, I'm like, oh, good morning! I'm so excited to be here. And my husband goes, Kathy's so excited to try the 1.5 today. We'll talk about that later. And he taught it to me. This is actually our rig in Santa Barbara about a week after he taught me this trick. Something in me that I didn't know I had. He saw something that I didn't realize I could do. And this is the immense joy of being surrounded by people that believe in you, that see you in a way that you don't see yourself. Because I never would have done that. I wouldn't have gone to my rig and said, hey, can I try a 1.5? I believed that I couldn't do it. And of course I put this up on Facebook, because if it's not on Facebook, it doesn't exist. And I get to my rig about a week later, and they said, oh my God, we saw your 1.5, that is so cool. And I said, thanks, I was really excited. And they said, today you're gonna do a double. And I went, yep. And I'm working on doubles. Haven't caught it yet. Fingertips. But I can do it now, and what this meant to me was I can do anything.
Anything?
Anything.
Wow.
If I want to.
Oh, wow.
Let's be specific, John. I don't want to have to get oppositional with you. But I realize it's like those people around us that can fuel us, that can inspire us. And everybody you come in contact with, you have the ability to do that too. And so I have to ask you, oh no, we're not doing that again. Who's in your inner circle? Who is close to you that you know you can rely on? And sometimes we forget. Sometimes we forget that we have people that support us. And I had a client sitting in my office and she said, Kathy, I don't have anybody. I'm so alone. And I said, well, you have me. Put me in the green circle. And she goes, yeah, you're right. She put me in there. And I said, didn't you tell me there's a woman at work who like keeps you eating and makes sure you take breaks? And she goes, oh, my receptionist, oh yeah, she's great, I put her in there. And by the time we were done having this conversation, we had scrapped the piece of paper and she just had this list of people that supported her. And then we have these people in the yellow circle, they're kind of neutral, yeah, you wave, you say hi, but they're not gonna, bail you out of jail in the middle of the night. And then you have that red circle, which is those people you just need to remove yourself from. Maybe it's somebody in your community that is kind of mean or nasty, or it's a boss that is kind of unsupportive, or a friend that isn't always there in a way that you need them to be. And not to say that people can't move between the circles. My dad passed away about 5 years ago, but he was my biggest fan. I could do no wrong in his eyes until I did wrong, and then he moved to the red circle. I had the opportunity to go to the Middle East for a speaking engagement, and he was so terrified that something was going to happen to me. He called my husband and said, steal her passport so she can't go. He threatened to call TSA and tell them I was a terrorist so they wouldn't let me on the plane. And he said, I'm going to take you out of the will. And I said, I know how much money you have, I'll risk it. So, but he was so scared. And I recognized that it wasn't anything to do with me, it was his own fear of losing me, which I totally understand. But for a while, I couldn't talk to him about the trip, I couldn't share that excitement because he was so negative about it. And for a couple weeks, he kind of floated into that red circle and then immediately came back. And when he realized that I was going to be just as safe there as I am anywhere else, it was probably, if anything, all the trapeze and the flying that was going to be more detrimental to me, he went back to the green circle. Now I have this as a handout too. It's just circles, let's face it, but I have those handouts if you want.
Today?
Today.
That was handouts today?
What? I have handouts right over there.
I have it right now?
Well, do you want it right now?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, one of those circles. I don't know everybody. And there's permission slips over there too. All right. So let's talk about habit. This is almost the last reason that we're resist change. Habit is the way we've always done it. I hear this so often, especially when I go into corporations or organizations. Well, that's the way we've always done the billing. That's the way we've always done the thing. So everybody right now, cross your arms. Now cross them the other way. Oh, it's so weird. It's weird. I had a guy in Montana, I said, cross the other way, and he goes, I was like, whoa. The rebel came out, that guy. He was like, I'll show you. I'm like, yeah, you crossed my arm both ways. But I hear that a lot. This is the way we've always done it. I have a couple of clients that have said this exact same thing. Man, we have this cleaning lady. She's not even cleaning anymore. We have to follow her around and pick up after her. She's breaking stuff. I think she's stealing from us. I'm like, well, why don't you get a new cleaning lady? She's been with us for years. But that doesn't mean that she should stay. Or my doctor's terrible, he keeps prescribing me the wrong meds, I can't get in to see him. Why don't you get a new doctor? He's been in my family for generations. That doesn't mean it's working. That just means there's longevity. Because change is scary, and risking change puts us very much at ill ease, right? We would rather stay in the hell we know than risk the hell we don't. We order the same food in the same booth at the same restaurant, because what if we don't like it? Well, other than kids and tattoos, and one of those is negligible, nothing's permanent. You can always make a different choice. I have a client that worked for a big company here in town doing like PR and promotions and that sort of thing. She didn't want to be in a corporate environment. She quit and started doing freelance work. She loved it. And then after about 2 years, she went, man, I miss benefits. I miss only being at one office. I miss having the same coworkers. She quit doing freelance and now she's back in the corporate world. She tried it, she did what she did, she had to get out of it what she got out of it, and then she changed her mind. We, for the most part, have the ability to do that. If you don't like what you just ordered at Applebee's, don't order it again.
Good advice.
Yeah, thank you. And don't go to Applebee's. Let's just say that first. When I was in South Africa, I ate warthog carpaccio. Why would I not try that? Because when am I ever going to get warthog carpaccio again? And when I ordered it, the guy looked at this very white American girl and went, are you sure? And I went, yeah. It was so good. It was so good. And then I ordered another dish that I didn't like. So you know what? I didn't eat it. So we have to try these things. Because this bucket list concept you know, we write stuff on a list, we never look at it again, and then we're terminal, we're 90, we realize we're not getting to Albuquerque for the balloon festival. Go do the thing, go for it if you can. My license plate on my car is go for it. I'm sorry if I've ever cut any of you off. I'm a very aggressive driver. Just wave and point and I'll know it's you.
You're the one.
That's the one, I'm the one. Sometimes it's so much more work, and sometimes, you know, what if it's horrible? What if it's horrible to try something new? Change your mind. And the reason there's a picture up there, so I didn't share this with you, but I drink a lot of iced tea. I go through a lot of iced tea. I keep 2 gallons of iced tea in my fridge at all times. I brew it on the stove in a pot. I have a funnel. I pour it into a water jug. Or at least that's how I used to do it. When I lived with my ex-husband, that's what I did. I had this great little funnel, brew it, pour it into one of the old gallon water pitchers or jugs. And, you know, a very small opening, and, you know, they get schmutzy in the bottom from the tea, so you throw it away, you get a new one. Well, when I left him 5.5 years ago, and I moved into my new place, first thing I did, gotta have the tea. Brewed the tea, I got the pot. Somehow I did not get the funnel in a divorce, but I don't know what happened with that. So I'm now stuck with this pot of tea, and I go, oh, well, where the hell am I gonna put this? Because I didn't have anything to put it in. So I called my ex-husband, and I said, do you have any water jugs? And he goes, yeah. I said, can I swing by and grab some? And he goes, tea? And I went, yeah. He goes, I'll send them out. So I drive across town, not hard in Santa Barbara, but I drove across town, and I got 2 water pitchers, or 2 water jugs, and I put them in the fridge until they got so schmutzy, they were just disgusting. And then I drive back over to his house, and I get a new water thing. And one day I'm at CVS, and I'm in their housewares aisle, and I see, oh, beautiful, and my kitchen's red, it was perfect, $7.79. I had $8, wide mouth, don't even need a funnel, and I looked at those and I went, God, that would be so good for my tea. And I walked away. I did not buy them. Instead, what I did is I drove to my husband's and I got 2 more water things. And I went, what is wrong with me? So I'm standing at the house and I'm like, man, you know, the next time, this is stupid. The next time I'm at CVS, I'm gonna get one of these pitchers. A couple days later, because my office is right across from the CVS on Calle Morales, I'm over there getting something and I go, oh, pitchers. And I get 1. Remember how many jugs I said I kept? 2. It's hard to tell in this photo, but there's multiple pitchers. I had $15, but I bought 1. So I take it home, I luxuriously pour the tea into this wide mouth, and then with still no funnel, I'm trying to get it into the schmutzy water jug, and I finally, in the kitchen, out loud went, what the hell's wrong with you? Why are you so resistant to change? I should do a talk on this, so welcome.
You still drink tea?
I still drink tea. Cheers. I've cut back. I do tea until noon, and then I do LaCroix water all afternoon, and then wine, because, you know. And a very wise person, I'm surprised you didn't say this to me, John, very wise person at one of my talks in that half of the room raised their hand in the middle of this and said, what if you were still trying to stay dependent on your husband, and so you kept asking for the water jug so you could keep in touch with him? And I went, that's brilliant. No. Because we're still friends, we help each other out. It wasn't one of those, I'm gonna leave my jacket here so I have to come back kind of things. We're still really good friends, we help each other out. I was just being stubborn, I was just being silly. I was doing it the way I've always done it, because that's the way I've always done it. There's no better reason than that. We do this all the time. And then finally, the last reason we're resistant. Guys, why? Why do we do that? It's not even a short anymore, it's a skirt. Why do you have those? Sometimes we're just lazy. Sometimes we just don't make these changes. Now, this is no one I know, but I know people that have these, and I'm collecting stories. So the 3 best ones so far that people have come up afterwards to defend this. The first one said, but it's so airy. Okay. The second one said, you will never wear anything more comfortable. Okay. The third one, and this is the best one, I would never deem to disrespect my wife by throwing something away she just laundered. And then it got worse. I said, well, what happens if you wear it and then throw it away? And he said, oh, no, it's on the floor with the other clothes and she just launders it. So I handed him a card, I'm like, let's do some coaching. No, but we just get lazy sometimes. We all have that drawer that's just filled with crap. In the kitchen, it's got like a bent spoon and like that key that you don't know what it's for, but you can't throw it away because someday you'll figure it out. There's like one chopstick and the little eyeglass screwdriver that you have like 6 of because you forget you have it, and then you go buy it and you put it in the drawer and you go, oh, those are the rest of them. And then 6 months later, you buy another one. We all have that drawer. For some of us, it's a whole room or the garage or part of the house. And when we move, we look at the drawer and go, ugh, and we put it in a box and we just put it in the new drawer. This is what we tend to do. Sometimes we're just lazy. When I met my current husband, he had a pair of those, and it was my rule in my house, you don't throw somebody else's stuff away. So I would never go, oh, did those get lost, and throw it away. But I said to him, what are we gonna do about this? And he said, and so I went click and ordered the exact same pair on Amazon. They came in a 3-pack, and he got rid of those. Sometimes it takes someone else to help us. So a couple tips for laziness or procrastination. Delegate it. You guys all have kids. What are you doing with them? Have them do some stuff for you. Delegate, have somebody help. You know, if you want to clean out that drawer, call a girlfriend and say, hey, we're gonna have wine tonight and we're gonna sit down for 20 minutes and clean out this drawer. Or the garage, or the room. If you have an assistant, if you have someone in your living environment that helps you with things, delegate that stuff. Spend 5 minutes a day. That's 5 minutes. Set the timer on your phone and just do 5 minutes. Because at the end of that 5 minutes, a couple things is gonna happen. Either you go, hey, I made 5 minutes of headway. Or you go, oh man, this is fine, I'm almost done, I might as well keep going. Or you stop and then you finish the next 5 minutes the next day. It's 5 minutes, or a half hour a week. The way to get things done. Any to-do list people in the room?
Anyone?
To-do list people? Oh, the to-do list friends. Yeah, do you write it out in longhand? Yes, okay, that's the way to do it. Do you ever, like, if you go to cross something off and you realize you didn't write it down, you write it down just so you can cross it off? Yes! I want credit for that. We get a dopamine hit every time we cross something off our list. And if we write it out in cursive, longhand, the writing they don't teach anybody anymore, it goes directly to our subconscious, we get more done. If we write out our goals in longhand, we accomplish them more. If we write out our shopping list in longhand and then forget the list accidentally, we remember more. There is some strong connection between cursive writing and our subconscious. So, when you write out your to-do list, estimate how much time it's gonna take. I can do this, it's gonna take about 10 minutes, I'm gonna do this, oh, that's a 3-hour project, I'm gonna do this. Because then if you have found time, and I love found time, a meeting that was supposed to take an hour takes 45 minutes. You go to watch TV, the TV's not working today, or the internet's out, or whatever it is. You can glance at your list and go, oh, I can get these 2 things done. Because I have executive coaching clients who will find themselves with 15 free minutes, look at their list and go, oh man, I don't know, I could do that. And next thing you know, you're watching raccoons eat apples on YouTube, which I hear is adorable, I don't know. If you can glance and go, I can get these 3 things done in that 15 minutes, you're gonna be more productive. You're gonna be more apt to get stuff done. And then finally, you get to ask yourself, is it really that important to do? Do I care that I'm wearing boxer shorts that aren't a short anymore? Do I care that the garage is messy? Do I care that those taxes still haven't been filed in a certain way? If it's keeping you up at night and you feel like you want to do it and you're not, maybe you don't really want to. Ask yourself if that's that important to do, because sometimes it's that excuse. I have clients that will not travel because they have the room of crap, but yet they're not doing anything to clean out the room of crap. And it's so clearly an excuse to not move forward. I have offered to come help them clean out the room of crap. I love cleaning out rooms of crap. Capricorn. Give me a bin and box it, I will clean out that room of crap. They don't want to. There's so much fear around moving forward, they're staying stuck in the room of crap. Are you doing that? Are you just procrastinating and being lazy? So, another homework for you. Create a positive self-image. Write down these things. Write down your strengths. Write down what you contribute, the talent, the resources, those positive attributes that you have. Because if you're ever feeling a little bit low, or like you can't make the change, that things are too scary, you get to look to your circle of friends, and you get to look to those positive qualities that you possess. Because sometimes we forget how amazing we are. And every time I show that video of me catching that 1.5, I remember that I can do things. And that I have the ability to influence others and help them do things. Let's talk briefly about affirmations. It's estimated we have about 60,000 thoughts a day, and 50,000 of those are negative. It's a lot of negative thoughts. I don't do math. I was a theater major. I have been told that's 80%.
What kind of major?
What was that? I was a theater major.
Theater. shows.
Thank you. I was gonna say pretty apparent. But 80% negative thoughts. And like we did with that red and blue exercise, what we're focused on is what we're gonna find. And when we think certain thoughts, our brain communicates with different parts. And the more we think that thought, the stronger that connection gets. It's neuroplasticity. And up till about 20 years ago, we didn't think our brain matured past the age of 25. And though 25 is pretty damn fun, I'm really glad my brain matured past that. So to make changes in our thinking, it's hard to stop thinking things. But what we can do are affirmations. And the key to that, write them out in longhand, short, positive, in the present moment, and repeat them often. Here's some of my favorites. I'm surrounded by supportive coworkers. My day goes smoothly and quick. I accept money from unexpected sources. I have plenty of time, I adapt easily, I communicate clearly. Anything that you want, and you've got to know what you want, you can do affirmations on that. Studies show that affirmations can change our physical outcomes, sports performance, wound healing, immune boosting. If you say, my immune system is healthy and well, your immune system will start to boost. If you cut yourself or if you have a wound and you say this wound heals quickly and healthy, it's what it's gonna do. Our brain doesn't recognize the difference between what we're thinking about and imagining and what's actually happening. So if you start to visualize these things and picture these things and say these things, your brain's gonna act on you getting there. My favorite, I accept money from unexpected sources. A lot of people laugh at that one, I don't know why. But I started out as a massage therapist, and let's face it, I can only charge so much, and there's only so many hours in the day. So I hit a point where I couldn't make any more money. And I wanted more, I needed more. I feel like we all deserve prosperity and abundance, whatever that looks like to you. And so I started doing this affirmation. Because I didn't care where it came from, barring like illegal activity or somebody close to me passing away. So I started doing this affirmation. I wrote it down at night before you go to bed. Best time to do your affirmations. Wrote it on my dashboard of my car, the mirror in the morning, said it throughout the day, wrote it down a couple times. And after about 3 days of doing this affirmation, I get a phone call. Hey Kathy, my name's so-and-so, I'm with an expert witness organization. Have you ever considered being an expert witness? And I said, oh, that's interesting. I said, no, I haven't, because I've seen CSI. I know they need like a bridge manufacturer and a neurosurgeon, like what do they want a massage therapist for? And I said, yeah, what did you need a therapist for? I was, kind of confused by that. She said, oh, well, we have a client that got injured on the table and we think the therapist did something wrong. We need an expert to speak at scope of practice, continuity of care. Is that something you could do? And I said, oh yeah, I'm sure I could, but what do I have to do exactly? And she said, oh, you'll read a lot of reports and you'll have to write a report. You'll read a bunch of depots. You might be deposed yourself. And if it goes to court, you'll have to testify. It pays $175 an hour. And I went, yes. And I read very slowly. But I don't. I'm a speed reader, but I was joking. But I took this job and I worked with them probably 20 times. And I kept one guy out of jail who did nothing wrong. I got people out of the industry that had no right to be practicing because they were either injuring people or sexually assaulting people. I kept clients who were suing completely frivolously out of the lawsuit. And this got me on Dr. Phil. I was on Dr. Phil 2 years ago as an expert reaming this guy who was abusing women in the South because I did this expert witness work. Now, I'm not saying that the affirmation did that, but it seems likely. I did this talk, a different talk, and apparently I'm in Montana a lot these days. I did this affirmation thing, I encouraged everyone to write one down, and then at the end of my talk, I drew the name of who was gonna win entrance to the conference next year, like $600-700 value. And I drew this woman's name, and the session's over, and I'm standing in the back, and I'm signing books, and this woman runs up to me, and she goes, can I talk to you? And I said, yeah, absolutely, what's up? She goes, I just did the affirmation that I accept abundance into my life, and you drew my name, and I get in for free next year. And I said, that's so cool. It doesn't normally work that fast. I said, if you're finding it's working that fast, please call me. I have some things I'd like you to affirm for me. But she was thrilled, and she saw that connection of being open to accepting that. Stress is a perception. How many of you see the vase in the center? Couple? Yep. How many of you see the old couple staring at each other in profile? Yep. How many of you see the Hispanic couple playing music and the woman coming out of the doorway? It's a tricky one. Yep. So we've got the images, the nose, and then but here's a woman and a man playing guitar and a woman coming out of the doorway. There's 3 different ways to look at this. It's a great painting by Octavio Ocampo. But what's cool is when I ask who sees what, literally like a third of the room sees each thing. But now that you know it's there, you can shift your focus. You can get to choose to look at something else. And that's how that perception of stress is. You get to choose what you're focusing on. It's the blue and the red thing, right? If you're only focused on the negative stuff, that's all you're gonna find. It's how our brain works. So you get to shift your focus. And I have one last quick tool that I want to teach you before we all go. This is a mini meditation. I was a horrible meditator, very type A, didn't want to sit still, thoughts going a mile a minute. But I learned this at Harvard, and I want to share it with you because this was my gateway into formal seated meditation. So I invite you to close your eyes again. And you don't have to contort your body in anything weird, just however you're sitting is fine. And you're going to notice your breathing again. And you're just paying attention to it, like we did in that first exercise. Noticing that inhale and that exhale. And on your next inhale, think, I am. And on all of your inhales, think, I am. And on your next exhale, think, at peace. And on all of your exhales, think, at peace. Inhale, I am. Exhale, at peace. And when other thoughts untrue, that's okay. Just dismiss them without judgment. Let them float away like clouds on a summer day. Return to the I am at peace in that breath. You can let your shoulders drop and let your hands unclench. Let your belly relax because no one's looking. And go ahead and do one more inhale, I am, exhale at peace, and open your eyes and come back to the room. You all just meditated. Congratulations. For those of you who don't meditate, it's the simplest thing in the world. Thoughts are going to move through, you just dismiss them. You don't have to grab onto them, just like you get to shift your focus. So, ask questions, get help if you need. I'm a coach here in town. Look to the positives and previous change, make the steps slowly, and then figure out what you really want. Ask yourself, what do you really want? And then we can go with Gandhi, which is be the change we wish to see in the world. I did bring books. Conquer Your Stress at Work is just the 5 techniques I teach. 3 of those you got today. Workplace wellness, yeah, it's work, but it's stretching and nutrition, that sort of thing. Journey of Healing is my favorite book. I know you're not supposed to have a favorite kid, but I do. It's everything I know about health and wellness. Conquer Your Stress with Mind Body Techniques, about 45 stress techniques. And I have other programs, and here I am. So if I can help you in any way, let me know. I love presenting, I love coaching, I love everybody in Santa Barbara. So thanks so much.
What a beautiful presentation. Thank you so much, Kathy. The microphone's right over there. Okay, I'm going to use my big teacher voice. So this was amazing. Thank you. Next month, to go through our seminars. Next month we have Holiday Joy. And guess who's speaking again? Kathy's coming in. Yes! So we do have sign-up sheets in the back if you would like to put your name down or if you want to send us an email. In January, we have curated transitions coming to speak about right-sizing. In February, stress and mental health. In March, we have Alzheimer's Association coming. And then in April, we have care for the caregiver. And as everybody saw, this is sitting at your seat. I volunteer my time with Grace Fisher. If you're not familiar with her, she received, she got a sickness in high school that made her quadriplegic. Through Make-A-Wish Foundation, she opened this beautiful all-inclusive art clubhouse. And I'm currently teaching a dance, sign language, little dance piece that's gonna be in the grand finale. This is her once-a-year fundraiser to provide free arts, whether it's painting or dancing or drum circle, weekly to anyone everyone's welcome. It's an all-inclusive studio. So if you're interested in some holiday cheer, her performance is on the 10th. If you're interested in being a part of it, there are flyers on the back table of when we have our classes to come learn and take a class, or I can send you a video. So we also have raffle. We have 2 raffles today. Did everybody get their name in the basket? No? Oh, well, let's see. Oh, great. Well, this is why I'm asking. Put it in here.
No, because if it gets drawn, I'll feel bad.
Oh, no, please. Well, I have extras, so. Grandma Mike, I got you in here. Anyone else?
Stir as well.
I will, I promise I'll stir. Did we get, okay. So the first drawing we're gonna do is for 4 tickets to the Santa Barbara Natural History Museum. Yes, okay. Mixing them up. Please pick a name. Okay.
Tennis.
Tennis! Yay! And then the next winner will take home the beautiful gift basket from Santa Barbara Gift Baskets.
I love it. Karen.
Karen!
That is Karen Martin.
Oh, Karen Martin. Okay, Karen, we have 2 Karens. Karen Martin and Karen too. So.
Does anybody have a birthday this month? Okay.
I had it in October.
John, when was your birthday?
October 29th.
October 29th. So at your table, whoever has a birthday closest to October 29th, please take home this beautiful plant that has been donated from Poor Lamar Nursery.
So John, you get
Yes, your plant's right there.
and we thank everyone for coming. We'll see you next month.
Yes, permission for everything.